Step beyond the edge of known space and Earth's final signal, you will regret crossing the line. An original 8-part HFY Humans are a special science fiction epic from at HFY Starbound. When alien explorers ignore an ancient warning and enter our solar system, they awaken a silent power that can command the stars themselves. Witness the suspenseful journey of Captain Drex and the Shadow Wing as they face the unimaginable. Humanity evolved beyond flesh and time. This full story delivers relentless tension, high-stakes action, and a final message the entire galaxy can never forget. 8 gripping chapters, third-person cinematic storytelling, perfect for fans of HFY, hard sci-fi, and cosmic mysteries. Subscribe to at HFY Starbound for more original humans or special science fiction, weekly HFY stories, and edge-of-your-seat space adventures. Like, comment, and share to support new stories. The silent transmission. The stars above Earth were quiet, a black ocean scattered with white lights. For centuries, the solar system had drifted in silence. No trade ships, no beacons, no friendly messages. To the galaxy, Earth was a dead world, long abandoned after its great wars. That silence ended in one heartbeat. Pulse of light burst from the direction of Earth's moon. It was not a natural flash of energy. It was too sharp, too deliberate. Across the Milky Way, sensors screamed as a single phrase spread through every communication band. The words appeared in hundreds of alien languages at once, as if whoever sent it knew them all. Cross this line and you will pay. The message repeated again and again, every letter bright and cold like steel. There was no signature, no source code, just the warning. 3 weeks later, in a quiet corner of the Perseus Arm, Captain Drex of the Kethari explorers leaned over his ship's console. His gray-scaled skin reflected the blinking lights. "Run the analysis again," he ordered. "There must be a natural cause. A dying sun. A magnetic flare." The science officer shook his thin head. "No, Captain. It is not natural. The signal carries encryption far beyond ours. It came from Sol System, from the dead world, Earth." The bridge fell silent. Every member of the crew knew the name. Earth was a myth, a ruin from the old star maps. Some said humans had burned themselves out in endless wars. Others claimed they had simply disappeared, leaving only empty cities and dust. Drex's second officer clicked his claws against the railing. "It is a trick. Some pirate band playing with old stories." Perhaps, Drex said, but deep in his chest, he felt something colder. A challenge. Days later, the Kethari scout ship Shadow Wing drifted at the edge of the Kuiper Belt. The sun looked small and weak from this distance, a pale coin lost in darkness. "Signal strength is constant," the science officer whispered. "It still repeats the same phrase. No change." Drex stared through the viewport. Jagged chunks of ice and rock floated around them. Beyond lay the dark border of the solar system. A quiet voice in his mind urged caution. But Drex was a captain of explorers, trained to pierce mysteries. "Take us in," he said. "Slow burn. Let's see the ghost world for ourselves." Engines hummed. The Shadow Wing slipped past the invisible line where the warning first appeared. Nothing happened. "No alarm, no sudden strike. See?" the second officer hissed. "Empty threats." But then the ship's lights flickered. At first it was small, simple power dip. Then every console on the bridge went black at once. The engines died. The hum of life support faded. "Backup power." Drex barked, no response. The crew scrambled as cold crept through the air. The main screen glowed white, though no one had touched it. A single sentence appeared in perfect Kethari script. "You crossed the line." A second line followed, in a language none of them recognized, yet somehow each of them understood. "Consequences begin." The ship shuddered, not from impact, but from something deeper, as if the space around them had thickened. "Captain," the science officer whispered, eyes wide, are long-range sensors. They are blind. The stars. They're gone. Drex turned. Through the viewport, the endless glitter of the galaxy had vanished. Only darkness remained thick. It's absolute. Impossible, the second officer muttered. A low vibration rose through the hole. It sounded like a giant heartbeat. Find the source, Drex commanded. Now. But before anyone could move, a shape emerged from the black dot. At first, it looked like a shadow. Then lights flickered along its edges, lines of blue fire that revealed a massive structure. It dwarfed the shadow wing. Metallic plates glimmered like a sleeping beast. No known species built ships like this. The science officer's voice cracked. Captain, that is not a ship on any record. The object drifted closer, silent, deliberate. It blocked out what little starlight remained. Suddenly, the Cums came alive with a low, human-sounding voice. It was calm, almost gentle. You were warned. Every Cathari froze. The voice spoke their language with flawless precision. You cross. You pay. Leave or be unmade. The message ended. The great shadow began to move again, circling them like a predator testing its prey. Drex felt the weight of centuries pressing on him. Could this truly be the lost children of Earth? Had they waited all this time for someone to break the silence? Engines to full retreat, he ordered, though his voice trembled. Engines offline, came the reply. We have no control. Outside, the dark ship turned, its blue lines glowing brighter, like eyes opening after a long sleep. On a distant star station, light years away, a young communications officer listened to the live feed before it cut to static. She replayed the final seconds again and again, hearing that low voice. You cross. You pay. She sent the report to her superiors, her hands shaking. Within hours, councils across the galaxy argued. Some demanded investigation. Others wanted war. A few whispered the ancient name with fear humans. But no one could ignore the truth. The dead world had spoken, and somewhere in the deep black beyond the reach of any known power, something from Earth had awakened. The warning had only begun. Static and shadows, the bridge of the shadow. Wing trembled as the dark colossus circled them. The ship's lights flickered like candles in a storm. Captain Drex stood rigid, claws gripping the railing. He forced his voice to stay calm. Status. Anything, no engines. No life support readings. No stars, said the science officer. His scales had gone pale. We are nowhere. The black view outside pressed against the windows. Space should have glittered with suns. Instead, only the massive shadow moved silent, patient, alive. A low pulse rumbled through the hull, deep enough to rattle teeth. Then the same calm voice filled the bridge, closer now, almost whispering, you crossed the line. The words were not just sound. They vibrated inside their skulls. Payment begins. Every console blinked to life showing not data, but images. First came pictures of Earth long ago. Blue oceans, green continents, cities shining with light. Then fire, towers collapsing. Skies black with smoke. The images sped forward, massive ships leaving the planet, vanishing into deep dark. They left, the navigator breathed. Humans, they left. The vision shifted. A great black warship rose from a cold moon, larger than anything in the old legends. Its hull was carved with strange silver symbols, alive with blue light. The same ship that now surrounded them far across the galaxy. In the council halls of the Cathari Union, a frantic signal arrived, then cut off. Hi, Chancellor. Vey listened to the fragmented transmission on repeat, static. Then a single clear phrase. In the language of every known species, you will regret crossing the line. The words chilled even the veteran diplomats. Captain Drex was a fool, one counselor hissed. But a force that can speak all tongues and sees a ship across light years is no legend. Others argued. It must be a rival empire, an elaborate trick. But the silence after the warning felt heavier than proof. Vey turned to her advisors. If the humans are alive, they have technology beyond us all. We cannot attack. Not yet. A younger counselor leaned forward. Then what do we do? Wait, Vey said, and listen. Always listen. Back aboard the Shadow Wing, Captain Drex tried again to command. Who are you? He demanded. We came in peace. We only explore. The voice answered with something colder than anger certainty. Peace was the first lie. You knew the warning. You chose to cross. A deep hum grew louder, vibrating the deck plates. Panels on the alien warship began to glow like the surface of a sun. The second officer whispered, "Weapons charge. Can we fight?" Drex asked. The crew exchanged hopeless looks. Their own systems were dead. The hum stopped. Silence thickened. Heavier than any sound, then the stars returned, sudden and brilliant, as if a curtain had been torn away. All sensors online, the science officer gasped. But, Captain, look! Where Jupiter should have been, only a black void remained. The entire giant planet was gone. No, the navigator stammered. That is impossible. Planets cannot scan again, Drex snapped. The scans showed nothing. Only an empty orbit and cold dust, where a world once turned. The voice returned, soft as a grave. First payment taken. Leave now, or the next will be yours. The alien warship drifted aside, opening a path toward the outer edge of the system. For a heartbeat, no one moved. Then Drex found his voice. Helm, if we have engines, take us out. Now. Engines roared back to life, sudden and strong. The Shadow Wing turned, fleeing toward the stars. Behind them, the black ship watched, lights fading until it became a shadow once more. Hours later, when the crew dared to speak, Drex recorded a final message for the Union. His voice was rough, eyes hollow. This is Captain Drex of the Shadow Wing. We entered Sol System. We ignored the warning. Jupiter is gone. Not destroyed, gone. A power beyond anything known. Do not approach. I repeat, do not static swallow the rest. The transmission raced across the galaxy, carrying fear with it, and far behind them, deep in the Kuiper darkness. The great warship turned slowly back toward the sun, patient as a predator returning to its den. The humans had spoken once more. The galaxy would never sleep easily again. The silent net, the Shadow Wing streaked away from the solar system on full burn, its engines throwing white-blue light into the dark. Captain Drex kept his eyes on the forward screen, but every breath felt heavy. They were free, or so, he hoped. Distance from Sol? He asked. The navigator's voice shook. 5 million kilometers and climbing? Course locked for Union space. Good. Yet the quiet of the bridge did not feel like safety. It felt like a held breath. A sharp beep cut through the air. The science officer's spines twitched. Captain, sensors show a faint energy field ahead. It wasn't there seconds ago. Drex frowned. A ship? No, a barrier. Invisible until we neared it. Before Drex could reply, the Shadow Wing jolted hard, as if it had slammed into an unseen wall. Alarms howled. The ship's speed dropped to 0. We are stopped, the helm officer whispered. Space itself is holding us. Back in the Cathari Union capital, High Chancellor Vey paced the council chamber. Reports from other sectors poured in. A mining convoy near the Vega cluster had picked up the same eerie phrase. You will regret crossing the line. A long-range probe near the Orion Spur had recorded a sudden flash of human-style code before its systems failed. It was spreading Vey. This is not an isolated threat. It is a net. The humans, or whatever they have become, are awake. A veteran counselor hissed. If they can strike across light years, how do we fight? Vey stared at the stars on the chamber wall. Perhaps we don't fight. Perhaps we listen. But the younger counselors whispered of preemptive strikes, of uniting every species before Earth's shadow grew. Fear was already blooming like wildfire. On the Shadow Wing, Drex studied the invisible barrier. The void outside shimmered faintly, like heat over sand. "Scan for weakness," he ordered. The science officer shook his head. "No weakness. The field bends our own signals back at us. It knows what we try before we try it." A low vibration rolled through the ship, a slow, steady beat like a giant heart. Then every display on the bridge flashed white. New coordinates appeared, dozens of them floating like cold stars across the screen. "What are those?" the navigator asked. Drex narrowed his eyes. "A message. They want us to follow, Captain," the second officer warned. "This is madness. They are playing with us." "Perhaps," Drex said, "but we cannot move until we obey." Outside, space itself seemed to ripple, and the barrier opened a narrow path toward the inner system. The voice returned, soft and unmistakable. "Come and see." The words were not a threat. They were an invitation. The shadow wing glided forward, powerless to resist. The path twisted like a tunnel of shimmering light as they moved. Ghostly images flickered across the screens, faded human cities beneath new stars, colossal shipyards hidden in the shadows of distant moons. Faces of humans who should have been long dead. "They're showing us their strength," the science officer whispered, "or their memory." The path ended at a single set of coordinates near Jupiter's old orbit, where the giant planet had once ruled, but now there was something else. Sensors painted a massive object hidden within a swirl of dark energy. As the shadow wing approached, the darkness peeled away. A structure larger than any moon rotated slowly in the void. It was not a ship. It was a fortress. Black metal towers rose like frozen lightning. Rings of glowing blue shielded it in layers, each humming with quiet power. Strange silver symbols crawled across the surface, rearranging themselves in patterns that no Cathari mind could follow. The crew stared in silence. "This," the science officer breathed, "is not abandoned. It is alive." A single light flared at the fortress's core, bright enough to blind the sensors. The comm channel opened by itself. "You were warned," the calm voice said, "but you are not the only ones who need to see." Drex felt the meaning in those words. This was no message for his crew alone. The transmission was going out everywhere, light years away. Every listening post across the galaxy blinked to life. Screens filled with the same view. A black fortress orbiting an empty space where Jupiter should have been. A final phrase burned across the skies of 1,000 worlds. "The line has been crossed. The reckoning begins." Council chambers erupted in panic. Armies scrambled. Traders and miners sealed their ports, but no one could look away from the image of that colossal human stronghold, silently turning in the dark. On the bridge of the Shadow Wing, Drex felt the weight of the galaxy watching. "What do they want from us?" The navigator whispered. The voice answered one last time, deep and cold as the void itself. "Witness. Then choose." The transmission cut. The fortress lights dimmed to a slow, steady pulse, like a heartbeat waiting for a response, and in the stillness, Captain Drex knew the truth. The humans were not just alive, they were setting the stage. The dreadnought, Waken's the black fortress, drifted in perfect silence. Its towers turned with mathematical precision, each motion slow and deliberate, like a predator conserving strength. Captain Drex and his crew stood frozen on the Shadow Wing's bridge, eyes fixed on the screens. "It isn't a station," the science officer whispered. "It's a warship, one the size of a small moon." The fortress rotated, and for the first time a name etched into the hull caught the light. The letters were strange, yet familiar, flickering through every known language until they settled into Cathari script. Iron Resolvia, ripple of cold, moved through the crew. The voice that had haunted them since Soul now returned, smooth and unhurried. "You stand before the Iron Resolve. You cross the line. The judgment begins." The sound vibrated in their bones. Even the ship's metal seemed to hum with it. Far across the galaxy, every listening station received the same broadcast. In Union capitals, in the halls of rival empires, in pirate dens and mining colonies, The image of the iron resolve filled every screen. High Chancellor Vey watched with a mix of awe and dread. Around her, counselors shouted over one another, "It's a weapon. Strike first, before it strikes us." Strike? Against that? The chamber fell to stunned silence as the warship's silhouette shifted. Panels along its flanks opened like the petals of a vast black flower. On the shadow wing, lights across the fortress blazed a sharp electric blue. The void itself seemed to tighten. "Gravitational readings spiking," the science officer said, voice thin. "Something is building massive energy surge." Drex's claws dug into the railing. "Defensive posture. If we can raise shields, shields offline," the helm officer said. "They're controlling every system before we touch it." A single bright point emerged from the dreadnought center. A star forged from pure energy. It grew until it bathed the shadow wing in icy light. The crew shielded their eyes. Then the voice returned. "Colder than before? Observe the power you chose to wake." The point of light shot outward, not toward them, but into empty space. A beam of white fire stretched across the void, silent yet so intense it left after images even in the mind. "Target coordinates?" Drex asked. The science officer's face drained of color. "Asteroid cluster 6 million kilometers away." "Why there?" The question died as sensors showed the answer. The cluster simply ceased to exist. No explosion, debris. The rocks were just gone, wiped from reality. The crew stared, speechless. That the second officer whispered, "is not a weapon. It's something worse." The dreadnought pivoted, its colossal engines leaving streaks of ghost blue light. Every movement radiated quiet intent. Again the voice filled the ship. "Leave this system. Tell the galaxy. The line stands. Cross it again and face extinction." The words carried no anger, only certainty. As if to seal the warning, a ring of shimmering energy formed around the shadow wing. It pressed outward with gentle force. Nudging them toward the edge of the solar system, Drex clenched his jaw. "Helm, do as it says. Slow retreat." The navigator's claws hovered above the controls. "Captain, are we prisoners or messengers?" "Both," Drex said quietly. The ring guided them forward like a current. Behind them, the iron resolve slowly turned away, its blue lights dimming to a soft, steady glow. Across the galaxy, panic spread like wildfire. Empires argued, fleets scrambled, and old rivals suddenly spoke of alliances. The name of Earthlong, a fading myth now, burned on every tongue. Some leaders demanded an immediate strike. Others called for surrender before a war even began. "High Chancellor." They spoke only once during the chaos. "The humans are not seeking war. They are drawing a border. We must decide whether to respect it, or vanish like the stones they erased." Her words carried through every hall of power. And yet, beneath the fear, curiosity, SMOLDR, if humans wielded such force, what else were they hiding? As the shadow wings slipped beyond Neptune's orbit, the stars brightened again. Systems flickered back to normal one by one. "We are free," the science officer said, though his voice lacked joy. Drex stared at the shrinking blue glow of the iron resolve. Free, yes, but never the same. He opened a channel to the Cathari Union, its message short and heavy. "This is Captain Drex. We have seen Earth's final signal. We carry their warning. They are not gone. They are beyond us." The transmission shot into the endless dark. Racing ahead of them, behind in the quiet heart of Sol, the iron resolve settled into shadow once more, its silent engines waiting. Somewhere deep inside that colossal ship, hidden minds, human or something more, watched the fleeing scout. Patient as the void, the game had only begun. The message behind the silence, the shadow wing slipped through the far edge of the solar system, engines whispering against the endless dark. Captain Drex remained at the bridge window long after the iron resolve vanished from view. The cold of deep space pressed against the glass. But his thoughts were colder still. "They let us go," the second officer said quietly. "But why?" To spread fear, the navigator replied, "That ship is a warning, nothing more." Drex turned, his eyes like polished stone. "No, it's more than fear. They want the galaxy to listen." He tapped the console, sending their full logs toward the Cathari Union. The data packet included every image of the fortress, every word of the human voice. As the signal left the ship, Drex felt as if a weight left with it one he would never reclaim. Light years away. Union Capitol screens flickered with the dreadnought's image. High Chancellor Vey stood before the Grand Council as the chamber roared with competing voices. They erased an asteroid cluster without a sound. Shouted one elder, "This is power beyond reason. We must unite the fleets," another barked. "Strike before they strike us." Vey raised a hand. The chamber fell into uneasy silence. "We cannot strike what we cannot even understand," she said. "The humans are not attacking. They are marking a line. Cross it again, and we risk extinction. We must choose wisdom, not panic." Whispers rippled through the room. Some counselors nodded. Others clenched their fists. Fear made strange allies and quicker enemies. Back aboard the Shadow Wing, a sudden chime cut through the hum of the engines. "Captain," the science officer said, "an encrypted signal." Inside our own logs, it wasn't there before. Drex frowned. Playback. The main screen flashed to life. A face formed out of light human, ageless, features sharp as carved stone. Its eyes seemed to look into each of them at once. "This is the final signal," the figure said. "You were warned. Yet you came? The galaxy must know the truth. Humanity is not gone. We have grown beyond flesh and time. We protect this system, and those who respect the line will be safe. Cross it, and you will pay. Spread this message. Become our witness." The figure's image dissolved into a single phrase, pulsing in every tongue. "Do not cross." The transmission ended. Silence returned to the bridge. Heavier than before. "They wanted us alive," the second officer whispered. "To carry their threat." "No," Drex said slowly. "To carry their promise." Across the galaxy, the hidden message ignited chaos. Entire sectors reported sudden human echo signals, ghost transmissions repeating the same words. Ancient ruins long thought alien revealed faint human symbols when scanned anew. A merchant convoy near the Ander Rift found a sealed probe drifting in silence. Inside it was a single line of code older than their civilization, yet unmistakably human. News spread faster than light. The humans were everywhere and nowhere. Meanwhile, the iron resolve remained motionless near the path where Jupiter once turned. But deep within its hull, lights brightened along corridors no outsider would ever see. In a chamber the size of a city, holograms of distant stars flared one by one. Each light marked a place where the message had been received. A voice calm, human, unbound by time, spoke within the dark. "The witnesses are chosen. The galaxy now knows the boundary. Let them decide." Another voice answered, softer but edged with quiet strength. "And if they cross again, then we finish what we began." The chamber dimmed. The ship returned to silence. On the Shadow Wing, Drex could not sleep. The image of the human face lingered in his mind. Not a threat. Not quite a promise. Something larger. He wondered if the humans truly were beyond flesh, or if they still walked somewhere in hidden colonies, waiting. He also wondered if the Cathari Union, proud, ambitious, would respect the line. "Captain," the navigator said at last, "do you believe them?" Drex stared into the starfield, the echo of that calm voice still ringing in his skull. "I believe," he said, "it's that we've only seen the surface of what they've become, and I believe they will keep their word." The crew fell silent. Outside, space stretched unendless, patient, watching. The spark of defiance, the Shadow Wing coasted through the black between stars, its crew worn thin by silence. Captain Drex kept the bridge lights dim, as if bright lamps might draw the iron resolves, gaze across light years. But news from the galaxy made sleep impossible. A soft tone broke the quiet. The cum officer straightened. Priority signal from the Cathari Union. Put it through, Drex said. High Chancellor Vey's voice filled the cabin, urgent and low. Captain, we have reports of unrest. To rival empires, the Vorn Dominion and the Urith combine are moving fleets. Toward Sol, they claim the human threat is exaggerated. They want the resources of an unguarded system. Drex's claws dug into the armrest. They will die. They do not listen, Vey replied. They believe the Iron Resolve is a bluff. We need proof of what you saw. You already have my logs. Politicians need more than logs, Vey said bitterly. They need a spectacle. Far across the void, the Vorn Dominion's war armada surged forward. 200 cruisers glittered like a chain of cold stars. Admiral Korvik stood at the flagship's prow, its crimson crest lifted high. The warning is fear talk, he told his officers. The humans are myth. We take the old planets and claim the legend for ourselves. Behind them, the Urith fleet followed, hungry for spoils. Old enemies, now allies of convenience. Sensors swept empty space. No resistance. Only the pale sun growing in the distance. Fools, Korvik muttered. The line is nothing. The Shadow Wing intercepted the fleet's open broadcast boasts of glory, coordinates of invasion. Drex listened in grim silence. They will cross the line within days, the navigator said. Drex felt a chill deeper than fear. And then the humans will answer. The science officer whispered, Captain. If the Iron Resolve does what we saw to a planet, what will it do to fleets? No one replied. On the edge of the solar system, invisible eyes were already watching. Deep within the Iron Resolve, a quiet alarm pulsed. Ancient sensors woven through the Oort cloud. Hidden in drifting ice got the signatures of the oncoming armadas. Inside the ship's vast command chamber, a dozen human figures of light emerged, their forms shifting between flesh and energy. Approach detected, said one, voice calm. 2 hostile fleets, combined strength formidable, said another. Recommendation? Asked a third. The central figure, tall, sharp, unmistakably human, raised a hand. We show them the cost, but we give them one chance to turn back. The others nodded. The chamber dimmed. The ship awoke. First came the signal. Every vessel in both invading fleets heard it at once. A single low chime that vibrated through hull and bone. Then a voice, unmistakably human and impossibly near. You have crossed the line. Leave now or be unmade. Korvik bared his teeth. Continue. Fire, if challenged. The fleet's advanced space around them began to ripple like water. Stars stretched and bent. Instruments spun useless. Then the darkness lit up. From the void ahead, hundreds of black-hulled craft slid into view, sleek, silent, each the size of a city. They had not been there a heartbeat before. Urith captains screamed overcomes. Where did they come from? Korvik forced his voice steady. All ships, attack. The first salvo of plasma fire leaped into the dark Hanli, to vanish inches from the targets, swallowed by a shimmer of blue light. The black ships did not return fire. They simply waited. Final warning, the calm voice said. Leave now. Panic spread through the Urith fleet. Several destroyers spun away, engines flaring for retreat. But Korvik's pride held firm. Charge, he roared. That was when the stars themselves struck back. Solar flares erupted from the sun in perfect arcs, brighter than any recorded in history. Yet each flare curved unnaturally, guided like a blade. They lanced through the Vorn formation with surgical precision, ripping ships apart without touching a single retreating Urith vessel. Korvik's flagship shuddered as half his armada vaporized in a single silent flash. Impossible, he shouted. A second wave of flares ignited, hotter, faster, wrapping the rest of the Vorn fleet in a cage of fire. The human voice returned, final and unyielding. This is your lesson. There will not be another. The surviving Urith ships fled in blind terror. Those who remained with Korvik were simply Gano debris, no signal, only empty coordinates where a mighty fleet had existed. Hours later, the Shadow Wing caught fragments of desperate transmissions, screams, static, and then the cold echo of silence. The navigator turned to Drex, eyes wide. The humans did, you see. They moved the sun's own fire. Drex nodded slowly. They control more than ships. They control the stars. He looked back toward the distant, quiet glow of soul. Somewhere inside that light, the iron resolve waited, patient and unshaken. They gave them a chance, Drex murmured, and then they showed the price. In union halls and enemy courts alike, the story spread faster than any ship. The humans had not just defended their border. They had rewritten the laws of war. The choice of surrender, the Shadow Wing cruised in uneasy silence. Stars glittered like shards of ice, but Captain Drex barely noticed. The news feeds from every corner of the galaxy flooded the bridge, images of the Vorn fleet's fiery end, fragments of panicked transmissions, entire systems calling emergency councils. The humans had proved their power. Now every species faced a single question: submit to the line or gamble on extinction. Drex stood with arms folded, watching the scattered reports. They won't stop with fear alone, he said. Someone will still test them. The science officer's crest flicked nervously. Perhaps, but after today, only the desperate or the foolish. On the Cathari homeworld, High Chancellor Vey faced a trembling assembly. Leaders from dozens of worlds joined by Hala stood like ghosts around the great chamber. The humans have spoken, Vey began. They showed mercy once. They will not again, an elder counselor rasped. Mercy. They erased a fleet and moved the sun's fire as if it were a toy. They gave warning, Vey said. We ignored it. That was our lesson. We must decide now. Will the Cathari cross that line again, or will we accept the border they have drawn? The chamber erupted, half demanding surrender, half calling for secret weapons, alliances, anything to resist. Fear battled pride in every voice. Vey raised a hand. Enough. Our choice is simple. Live with the line, or die proving we are fools. Her words echoed in the silent hall, deep in the solar system. The iron resolve floated like a midnight moon. Inside, a council of luminous human figures gathered in a chamber of dark crystal. Their forms flickered between flesh and light, eyes bright as stars. The message spreads, one said, her voice calm. Entire empires hesitate, and yet some plot in secret, another warned. Ambition dies slowly. The central figure, the same who had spoken to, Drex stepped forward. Then we remain watchful. We need not destroy them, only remind them, again, if we must. Around them, holographic star maps glowed. Lines of silver light marked the new border of Sala, warning etched across the void. On the Shadow Wing, Drex called his officers together. Transmit to the Union, he said. Full report of the Vorn destruction. No embellishment, no rumor, only what we saw. The COM officer hesitated. Captain, some will see this as surrender. Truth is not surrender, Drex replied. It is survival. The transmission launched into the dark, carrying the weight of a galaxy's decision. Hours later, a new signal reached the ships, soft, deliberate, unmistakably human. Captain Drex. The voice filled the bridge like a calm tide. You have witnessed enough. You understand our boundary? Tell your people, we seek no empire, only silence. Cross the line again, and there will be nothing left to cross. The sound faded, leaving a hush so deep it felt alive. The navigator swallowed hard. They spoke. To you, they spoke to all of us, Drex said. He turned toward the viewport, where the distant sun glowed like an unblinking eye, and they will keep watching. Across the galaxy, governments staggered toward reluctant peace. The Eurith Combine sealed its borders. The Cathari Union passed an emergency decree forbidding travel anywhere near Sol. Even pirates and smugglers whispered of the humans with reverence, and dread children on distant worlds asked a new bedtime question. What happens if you cross the line? No parent dared answer. Yet in hidden corners of space, ambition still burned. A few warlords planned in secret, convinced the humans could be tricked or copied. They whispered of weapons that might match the iron resolve. But most listened and waited. And feared Captain Drex stood once more at the bridge window. The stars seemed brighter now, the void deeper. "We have seen their strength," he said softly, "and their patience. The question is not what the humans will do next." He turned to his crew, eyes dark as the endless sky. "It's what we will do." The bridge fell silent, each officer feeling the weight of that truth. Far away, the iron resolve pulsed once a slow, steady glow like the heartbeat of a sleeping giant. The quiet before forever, the shadow. Wing drifted at the edge of the Cathari home system, her hull scarred from months of tense patrols. Captain Drex stood at the wide viewport, watching the pale blue star ahead. For the first time since encountering the humans, he felt something close to peace, uneasy, fragile, but real. A faint chime broke the hush. The com officer straightened. "Captain, priority transmission. Origin, unknown. Encryption identical to the human signal." The bridge crew held their breath. Drex nodded. "Put it through." The lights dimmed. A figure of light appeared, human, ageless, the same calm presence that had haunted Drex's dreams. "Captain Drex," the voice said, smooth as still water, "the galaxy has heard our warning. You have carried our message well. The line stands." Drex's jaw tightened. "You could have destroyed us all. Why spare anyone?" The figure tilted its head. "We are not conquerors. We are guardians. This system is our home. We protect it so that one day, when the galaxy is ready, it may approach in peace." "Ready?" Drex echoed. "Your kind and others like you must choose understanding over fear. We will wait. Time is nothing to us now." The image flickered, but the voice lingered. "Remember, we do not hunt. Keep the line, and life will endure. Cross it, and only silence will remain." The light faded, leaving the bridge in darkness and awe. Across the galaxy, governments reacted with quiet resolve. The Voran Dominion, what was left of it, signed an unspoken pact never to send a ship near Sol. The Earth Combine retreated into isolation. Even the most ambitious warlords dismantled their secret weapons programs. Their courage dissolved by the memory of solar fire carving fleets from existence. Children learned a new map of the stars, one with a single, glaring warning: do not cross. Merchants, explorers, and soldiers alike spoke of the line with a mix of fear and reverence, as though it were a living thing. No one dared to test the sleeping giant. High Chancellor Vey stood before the Cathari Grand Council, her voice steady. "We have been given a choice rare in history. Not conquest, not slavery, simply a boundary. We will honor it." The council, once divided by pride, voted in near silence. A treaty was signed and broadcast to every world, the Sol Accord. It contained only 3 words: do not cross. Months later, the Shadow Wing was ordered home. Drex walked the ship's corridors one last time, each step echoing with the memory of a voice older than empires. The navigator approached quietly. "Captain, do you think we'll ever see them again?" Drex looked out at the endless stars, faint shimmer of the distant sun barely visible. "Not until we're ready," he said, "and maybe not even then." He paused, the weight of the unknown pressing, but not crushing. "But we'll remember. That's enough." The crew nodded, understanding the gravity of their witness. They had looked into the heart of a power beyond imagining, and lived by, far beyond their reach. The iron resolve hung silent near the faint light of Sol deep inside. A single human figure, light and thought intertwined, watched a holographic map of the galaxy. Tiny points of silver marked every system where the message had been received. Another figure joined him, or formed like a ripple of starlight. "They have chosen restraint," she said. "For now," he replied. "But time is vast. One day, another will test the boundary. And when they do," the figure's eyes gleamed like distant suns, "we will be here." The iron resolve pulsed once, a heartbeat of quiet power, then returned to stillness. The humans beyond flesh, beyond time, waited in patient silence. Guardians of the line no one dared to cross. End of Part 8, and the complete story of Earth's final signal. You will regret crossing the line.